and welcome to the latest edition of What Does the Giraffe Say with me, Kathleen Retourne. We're an organisation that aims to connect people with conservation efforts around the world by holding live interviews on social media. Today I am very happy because I am joined by Nemiah Tembo, and he works for Community Markets for Conservation, which is based in Zambia. So Nemiah, if I could just hand over to you, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the organisation.
Well, my full names, you have just mentioned them. I'm Nemiah Tembo, based in the Eastern Province of Zambia, in Chipata. My background, I'm an agronomist, but at one time I was actually seen joining COMACO in trying to lift the livelihoods of the people in Eastern Province. And I've worked in almost all the districts except in Chadiza and Vubwi, but in all the eastern parts of Eastern Province, trying to promote conservation at household level, at the chiefdom level, and also trying to promote food security using conservation agriculture with the planting of trees, Glycidia sepium, to make sure that people don't depend on organic fertilizer, but organic fertilizer, which is more like a more sustainable way of trying to repair our soils that have actually been destroyed over the past decades. I think that's the passion that has actually driven me into this circle of COMACO, Community Markets for Conservation.
And was you always passionate about conservation? Was it something that you grew up with? What sparked that desire to do this?
Well, I didn't have that passion when I just came back from school, college. I never thought that I would be found in this, but I one time met my friend who is Dr. Deo Lewis, who taught me to say, your skills and my skills as a person who is skilled in wildlife management, or rather habitat, together with you, I think we can actually come up something which can actually be good for Zambia, good for Africa. And really, we started a small pilot area where we tried to test where people are food secure and where people that are not food secure, how destructive such mines can be. And also, knowledge is power. If we could actually lower ourselves and use our own technology, speak to the people, lower the language to the people that are not literate, it actually going to have a very good meaning, and the impact could be seen.
One of the things I really like about your organisation, and I think it was an article I'd seen on Facebook, and it made me really want to have you guys on the show, is that instead of punishing poachers for poaching, who are often doing it purely because they're hungry and they need the money, you actually look for sustainable alternatives, and that's kind of in farming practices and that kind of thing. How was this idea formed? And then kind of following from that, what sort of challenges and successes have you seen here?
Yeah, very interesting. This started when we started training the farmers into better livelihoods. They started having income and everything. We discovered that there was a pressure somewhere. The transformed poachers did not have access to markets. They did not have skills. So these depended full time to go and shoot an animal, bring it to a person who can actually buy it on a very small rate, which by the time this poacher goes back to his household, the money would actually not have any impact on the problems at a household level. So instead we said, I think there's something where we are missing. Why don't we actually get these poachers? It was not easy because they thought we were going to arrest them. Some of them were running away, but we went to the chiefs. The chiefs gave us a platform where we were able to speak to these people. And the government actually gave us an amnesty to say, you go ahead and start getting guns from these poachers and train them. Then we are going to see how this is going to work. Really, it was a miracle. The first bunch that we got, they actually came, they were scared, and they didn't know that they would go back and see their wives at that day. But praise enough, we talked to them, and the following day we loaded them into the vehicle. Off we went to a small remote place where we actually trained them. This was a government's place, Department of National Parks, known as Nyamalumba. That's where we trained the first bunch of poachers. So when we trained the first bunch, when these people went back, actually they were messengers. They actually told the other poachers to say, no, I think you can learn a lot of skills and live a better life. That's why when we launched this, it was quite interesting. And currently, we actually started now transforming poachers and surrendering the guns. And then we started training them to make sure that they have a sustainable livelihoods. Some of them went into beekeeping, and right now they're getting very good money. Some went into agriculture, growing crops, and the others, they were raising chickens. So there was a lot that was actually earned by the same poachers. So we actually saw a big transformation without any interference. And good enough, our government has supported this. And usually in such graduation, we have the district commissioners, we have the local leaders, the traditional leaders who have actually supported the surrendering of guns. So that's how we found a very sustainable way of keeping these people, and they can come out in open, because these people, when they poach, they don't move at daylight. They move at night and bring the carcass to your household. And then they will not even pick the man at the same time. They will actually come and pick the man on the other day so that they are not suspected. So you can see what that type of life, really, you can't feel these are human beings. And these are fellow Zambians, fellow human relatives who can actually be helped so that they can change. They are not criminals. They are criminals when they commit a crime. But this time, when we transform them, they actually become caring citizens, caring for the wildlife of this country and the habitat.
I absolutely love that. And you're completely right. You know, these are people that are members of the community, and you're giving them that option. So when you're doing the training, is it yourself that's doing the training, and what sort of background do the trainers have?
Okay. Well, the course is well compacted. We have got, when it comes to animal husbandry, how to keep chickens, it's actually the veterinary department that come to facilitate. When it is agriculture, that's growing up crops so that these poachers can sell, it is actually the Department of Agriculture who we hire to come and train. And some of them, our own local officers who are in COMACO, they actually come and facilitate in different types of. It's actually cross-cutting the health issues, family planning. We have the health personnel that actually come to train the same poachers. So you find that it's cross-cutting. It actually interfaces with a lot of departments, and you could see the passion when people are training, and it's not a short course, but a long course. And when they graduate, really, they actually reach at my level where I am. They are able to go and facilitate any subject in the community concerning habitat, concerning conservation of trees, the soils, water, how to educate people not to poison fish, because they have seen that that's their livelihood.
And you touched on it a bit earlier when you were saying that some people were a bit nervous about actually coming to you in the first place. But we have a question coming through from Stacey Saddlefield. Hi, Stacey. She's based in the US. And she's asking, have you found that the locals are receptive and open to your ideas?
Yeah, the locals have actually accepted the ideas. And that's why I can tell you something. When these poachers are sent back, the communities keep watch. So when we go back into these communities, they report to say this person has not repented. So you can see the engagement as they see these poachers as part of their community. When they are being received, they are told this person has changed, this one has not changed. So you could see the participation by the local communities and the leaders. So they are policing themselves. It's not me to go and watch to say, this person has started poaching or he has stopped poaching. It's actually a questionnaire that is set, and then people give answers to say, no, this person, he has made another gun. So you can see, then we go back to this person. Can you surrender back that gun which you have made? Because the community. So the surveillance is very, very, very dynamic, and it's quite interesting.
And also, another thing that I like about your organization is it's very much about empowerment and empowering the locals and making them feel like this is very much part of their project as well. I know a lot of what you do as well is the leaders actually get voted by the community members, and you deal a lot with the chiefs and that kind of thing. Was this a deliberate idea to make sure that people did feel connected to it? And have you seen changes in attitude since?
Yeah, let me tell you something. Communities, when they have not seen the benefit in whatever you take in the communities, if there is no benefit, they will not accept it. But, you know, over time, people are losing wildlife. They could not see the wildlife. They could not see any revenues coming through in the communities because people were busy poaching. So we went back to the communities, have sensitization meetings, very big gatherings, you know, together a traditional leader seated there, and then you start facilitating. And you have seen the type of people that we are targeting, the youth, the elderly, the mid. So we actually now spare some time and panel, you know, slowly in the local language, disseminate the information that you want to deliver. Definitely this becomes a success story because when now people sit in their households, they will start discussing, what was that topic? Was it really fruitful? Should we start keeping animals? Are they not going to destroy our crops? But they said, no. I think this will bring revenue. You have heard that guy, this revenue, which is actually coming from wildlife. It's the one that is supporting the medicines, the roads that we have. It's like a mine. It's like in a mine, the government sells the copper, and that copper, part of it, the money comes back to the communities to repair roads. And the same with the wildlife. When the money is realized from wildlife, it actually goes to the government treasury, which now finds us back to build the schools. So that way, the way you engage the communities, that way they will feel that this is their property, and that's how they will own the wildlife. Then they will report anyone who is still poaching and anyone who is still destroying the habitat, or maybe banning or doing anything. So that's the engagement that should actually we do, so that now when the communities buy in, and then they will say, now let's move on and see how do we stop poaching. Then we go in and start giving out inputs like the cereals, the legumes, and then COMACO offers markets at doorsteps so that these people can be liberated from the high poverty levels that they have. And others now start transforming. No, I have now moved from a thatched house to a roofed iron house, or I've sent my child to school. He is able to pay for the university, you know. So all that should be embedded now to make sure that the transformation is both from the poachers and the households themselves. Because a woman harbors a poacher. So the woman, if she's empowered, then she's going to say, no, don't go and poach. Otherwise, you'll be arrested and go to prison. So they actually go flat out and grow crops, which COMACO goes to buy at their doorsteps, offer cash there, so that the wife and the husband, they should plan for that money. Not just one person goes to cash the check and goes, but us, we make sure that we empower the household right up there, and they start planning. And that we have also produced a good book known as Better Life Book, where there is even planning and how to use the money, where to invest, and how to live a better life.
Absolutely, and I love that you're doing the female empowerment side of things as well, and the very fact that everything's being done in the local language means that there's not people that are getting left behind if they are able to speak another language, for example. We have a question coming through from Hagai Matali Malenga, and they are asking, how has been the support from government in terms of financial support for the initiative?
Well, as we know, the government has been very supportive. In which way? Not financially, but giving us a very conducive environment where we can actually be able to work and produce lay out our programs and be able to facilitate. And we are able now, right now, to pick out any officer in the government who has the skill to come and facilitate in our meetings. And then financially, the government also approves approves some of the money that we could actually use, like small grants that could help. So that initiative has actually been helped by the government to allow funds come into our coffers. That is more like the government is supporting that, and we can't say this is our money. It's government money when it comes into our coffers and it's well audited. So that's the way they has actually come up, and we have actually been helped by a lot of government ministries that are, for example, community development. We have Department of National Parks. We have Ministry of Tourism. That has actually helped us to make sure that the communities should own their own game ranches. They can actually raise their own money, like through carbon, through wildlife, and this safari tourism, like small game ranches. A small game ranch, small hotels where they can actually start receiving visitors. It's actually the conducive environment from the government that we are able to work well.
Now, I know with a lot of your products, it's actually goes through, I think it's called an organization called It's Wild. Now, was initially being sold in the market, but what you've also done is you've changed things up slightly in 2020 to allow the products to then be sold to the communities at a lower price to make it more affordable for everybody. Can you talk us through about this initiative and how it works how does it work for the product to still be of the same quality, but at a more affordable price for the local communities?
Yeah, let me tell you something. In our organization, we have structures at community level, and these are known as the producer group cooperatives. Then under a cooperative, we have the producer groups led by producer group chairperson. So we have, first of all, at a producer group, they have also started getting the same product. For example, soybeans. When we have added value to soybeans, we take it back to the community through soya pieces as relish, and then also yummy soy, instant porridge, which can actually be taken. And right now, a lot of children in Eastern Province, because to improve the school attendance, an organization known as Mary's Meals has actually been sponsoring to feed schools from the soybeans grown by our farmers. That's the first level. So we have actually taken the products closer to the communities. The cooperatives are actually, some of them, selling the products which cannot be added value at the community level, but we have taken back the produce. But now, here's the situation. We were feeding the chain stores at a very high level, and those are the ones that we were able to promote so that they buy the products and enjoy at the table. And yet in communities, we still had people that were able to enjoy the same products, and they see the factories in town. So what we campaigned on in 2020 was to make sure that we open small chain stores in almost all the districts to sell the products. So these products could be at the same level like those that are in the chain stores, but slightly, trying to control the price so that it can be affordable, and it should be at a table. Because when you talk of poverty, it actually goes with the poor nutrition. So poor nutrition makes people, get infected with the diseases very easily. So we said, no, I think it's better we take these products closer to the households. So, for example, we have actually every day there is a small van that goes around in the compounds selling the products, and then there is another chain, and there is another outlet in town where people are able to buy. Almost along the road to our capital city, we have a chain of stores. So instead of just managing the higher chain stores, we have actually, even made smaller packages that can be affordable by our consumers in smaller areas and smaller towns. So we have the yami soy in smaller packages. We have the rice, peanut butter in smaller packages. And, our honey is also very affordable. And that way, it is actually sending an information. Whoever wants to go and poach, just after looking at the packaging, they will say, oh, there is a head of an elephant. What is the connection? It's actually the producer. The farmer now, the people in the community, in towns, they should start supporting those people, because once they buy that, they should have supported that farmer who would have gone to do the poaching, because he'll be paid right up at the doorsteps. So that's the link and the dynamic arrangement that we have made to reach out to a lot of people. Just as we have reached out to people in terms of conservation, we should also reach everyone in terms of food. So this should be food that should bring health. And you can imagine under this COVID, once you buy this food, it's less contaminated. You actually go and keep it in home. Then you don't need to go back frequently to increase the contamination because of this COVID time. So many people, when there was a possible lockdown, they would buy a packet of rice, packet of honey, go and sit home. They should start consuming that so that they reduce the movements. So this was very dynamic, and it actually came at the right time when we had this pandemic.
And kind of following from that, if people wanted to buy it in the bigger supermarkets and things like that, what countries can you find these products in?
You mean within the country?
Yeah. Is it in South Africa? Is it just in Zambia, or do they go internationally?
Well, I think that is the rollout that we are trying to do right now, possibly sending some of these products outside the country. But I'm confident I can say South Africa. I think there's one person listening. He has actually mentioned it's wild. I think we are there. Many products are there. Nearby Malawi, we are there. We have these products, and I think possibly Botswana. But I think people are getting these products as they pass through in these different outlets they are getting. But there's a serious program, possibly to be helped by the government, to make sure that these products go to nearby countries and outside the world.
Yeah. We've got another question coming through again from Haggai, and they're asking, how is the organization responding to the impact of coronavirus in terms of resource, project implementation, and are you still managing to meet the supply and demand of the products during this time?
Yeah, thank you, Haggai. The organization is responding very well. We had very serious sensitization in communities to make sure that the meetings must be reduced. The contacts from producer groups, if maybe there are about 10 farmers, they should only be, those that should be meeting should be maybe just five farmers at that same village, maybe separate, and that reduces the contact. Then secondly, the extension staff that go to sensitize these communities, they also have drawn up a strategy, by trying to put up posters. And we have a powerful tool right now, the radio program, which is actually covering the whole Eastern Province landscape. We have very good people that are responding to this. So the training actually has gone into radios. So we have distributed a lot of radios, and others have got radios on their phones, and they like the program. So each time in the evening, they will switch on the radio and listen, both from the way they can protect themselves from corona, and at the same time, we teach them now the skills about conservation and agriculture. So you find that it's actually quite dynamic. We have also been responding very well at the premises here where we are at our head office in Chipata. We also make sure that we train our people. You know, they should have the masks throughout, sanitizing, you know, spraying the offices frequently, and reduce the contact by the workers. Worker to worker contacts is actually reduced. We have the Zoom meetings, Teams meetings. So we rarely, you know, brush shoulders each other. We know we love each other, but again, this is a deadly disease where you don't really have, you know, closed, open borders with a friend. So that's how we have actually done. The same with in the shops where we are selling these crops. We make sure that very few people go into the shops. There's a control there. There's a bucket of water, sanitizing. Before a customer goes in, he has to follow those regulations and put up a mask. So we have been, we have just gone, you know, flat out to make sure that we reduce the contacts to prevent corona. So I think I must have answered Mr. Hagai's question.
And have you found, I know in previous interviews that I've done with others, that the viruses actually meant that a lot of people are unable to work at the minute. And there's a lot of countries around the world that are seeing an uptick in poaching, mainly in for bushmeat. Have you found that's been the case, or have you found that the people that you guys have been working alongside are still sticking to the farming rather than getting worried and going back out into the bush?
Right now, well, I think it's actually the resources, Karen, that hinders us to reach to all the people. We could have the good skill, but there's something that actually sometimes hinders us to reach out to those people so that they can complete reform. But in those areas where we have worked in Eastern Province, I think there has been some reduction. We can say that there are some arrests for those people that trying to poach, and you find that most of the poaching is perpetrated by people that move from town to go into the areas where there is wildlife and cheat someone to say, no, this is what I'm going to give you so that you can poach something for me. So usually it has actually been dangerous in Eastern Province because we have a radio program that actually sends out messages at every minute. You know, people can send messages and then that way such sketch, you know, there's a foreign person here, we don't know what he's trying to do. So that's how we have actually gone in and start prevent crimes at those levels. There is serious sensitization when it comes to radio programs because it actually tells the people to say, don't go into this because otherwise it will actually cause you problems. So the areas where we have not gone to, that's where we still have higher levels of poaching. But where we have actually been together with the Department of National Parks, we have actually combined the efforts to make sure that those people have good markets, they should have inputs, they should be kept busy. That's all we need to actually make sure that some stops doing bad habits. And we have actually seen it in these areas where we're operating. You find that where there has been heavy charcoal, we actually take inputs and good markets. They switch off. We were not only transformed poachers, but charcoal producers who have actually transformed. So that's how we have actually taken the whole initiative to most of the areas. Other areas are doing extremely well. Other areas have actually failed. We have actually Mozambique that came to learn how we actually work. So they came in and we trained the leaders there in Mozambique, and we had people from Botswana, from where we know that we have got very nice parks in Botswana. They also came to learn how people can live with wildlife. And we have actually been sending that initiative to the government has actually allowed us, and this is how beauty, you know, the government has been to us, because they are even able to allow other countries to come and learn what COMACO is doing.
And you touched on it a bit earlier when you were talking about charcoal. I mean, again, it's normally you're finding communities with low income are turning to charcoal making for a way of getting money. And this is leading to a lot of deforestation, which also has its own repercussions. What sort of work are you doing here to stop the deforestation, and what sort of changes are you seeing?
Well, for the past 3 years, we have actually seen some good changes. The leaders that we have engaged on pilot areas to actually go into carbon markets, this has actually helped the communities, because the money that they realize from saving trees has actually forced a good competition between chiefdoms. I can tell you where we are in the Eastern Province. There is stiff competition right now in chiefdoms. The chiefs are in the forefront trying to control charcoal making. So they have actually been arresting their own people to make sure that they stop poaching, and they have used the same money realized from carbon to buy inputs to give to the farmers, and COMACO comes to buy the surplus. So that way, it's actually the high poverty levels, and a hungry stomach cannot actually survive and let the trees lay around. They will actually cut and sell, or poach and sell. But you have to make sure that the hungry person is fed, should have enough food and enough income. This too has actually, it's a livelihood, it's an employment. So you don't need possibly the government to go in the communities and start employing people. This is a direct employment, because the government also is actually giving, right now they have actually joined us. They are able to give legumes, they are able to give, livestock, they are able to give. So all that anchors on sustainable livelihoods that can save the environment. So if law enforcement alone cannot actually substitute this, otherwise you just make the communities become so hostile to you, and possibly you can't even pass through in that community. But this is how the government is trying to harmonize the situation in communities so that they become productive, and they become law-abiding citizens, so that they don't actually go into poaching.
Excellent. My Wi-Fi started to get a bit fragmented because of the weather. So I'll start to wrap up. Hopefully you can still hear me. Can you tell us how people can support you back home?
Well, I think the support that we need right now, we need a lot of radios. Our communities, most of them, they cannot afford radios. We have got nice radios that can be powered by solar. They can put the radios on the sun and regenerate power. And in the evenings, they listen to nice programs. Then the other help is we also need to actually make a lot of posters, information in local languages, which can be hanged on chiefs' palaces, which can be used in homes. And we have also a book which we have actually translated. It's known as Better Life Book. This one. This book, Better Life Book, is actually, I've just brought an English version, but we have a translated one, which is already in the local language. We need all those copies so that in the evenings, the school-going children can be reading the information that is in those books to their parents who have not been to school. And those that are educated possibly can read on their own. We want it to be more like a book that can be accessed by someone to change the lives of the people. And at the same time, this is the only way people can live a better life. Those are the helps, and we have the extension staff that needs to be taking these documents to the communities that need assistance in terms of fuels and any other means of transport. And then we have also senior lead farmers that actually help the producer groups. We have about 10 to 15 members in each producer group, and we have a lot of producer groups. All those who need help to make sure that they go and train people in COVID and also in sustainable livelihoods. That way, people are going to save the environment, they will actually promote conservation agriculture. They will remain on the same piece of land for years because that land would have become productive. And at the same time, that way, if people could actually know how to keep themselves, then we shall have less infections to the COVID pandemic that has hit this country. So I think those are my sentiments on what help people can render to us. Yeah. That's gone. Peter.
The internet just went.
From here. From here.
Oh, yeah, you are still talking actually.
Even when I was talking.
I'm saying here.
Excellent.
That's gone. Peter.
The internet just went.
From here. From here.
I think it's her internet.
Karen has gone.
I think so.
Why don't you connect your phone?
So it's not the problem with our internet, it's the problem with, it was with hers.
Okay.
Because she froze and Mr. Tembo is still moving just fine.
Oh, yeah.
So hers has disappeared.
But I summarized, eh?
Mm-hmm.
I summarized.
Yeah, well.
Was
she
was
did-
it captured?
Do we hang up, Peter, or do we leave it on?
It's still writing.
Peter, can we disconnect him? Right?
It's with her internet.
I think it's with her because he's still streaming just fine.
Okay, what is it?
Okay.